Hey everyone, happy Thursday. Thank you for joining our Presenting Digestible Findings session and spending your morning with us. I'm Emily. I work in scaled customer success here at Dovetail, and I am accompanied by Sara, our head of customer success and support, and one of our awesome CSMs, Dan, in the chat. As corny as it sounds, findings of all kinds are a gift to any organization. And like any gift that we give, there's a bit of a process involved. We need to carefully find and wrap up the gift, figure out how and when to deliver it, and learn whether the receiver liked it or not. In Dovetail, these gifts of knowledge can come in the form of insights. Insights are a place where you can summarize and share your findings. With this, we are aware that this word insights has a variety of different definitions. So whenever the word insight is mentioned today, we are referring to the specific object type in Dovetail. Throughout the session, we would love to hear from you, so please introduce yourself in the chat. We also have some resources to share, and there will also be room for Q&A at the end. So please drop any questions in the chat, as Sara will be gathering these throughout the session. So what you will learn today is 3 things. How to ensure your findings connect back to the raw data, how to share findings that are easy for stakeholders to digest and follow, and how to build credibility and trust with your stakeholders. Now, before diving straight into creating our insights, just like with any gift, let's take a step back and be intentional with what we are sharing with our organization. So throughout the process, keep in mind these 3 things. The first thing is, what is the purpose? So now that insights in Dovetail are super flexible, you'll need to work internally to define what you are using insights for in your projects. Some common reasons might be to inform, to persuade, to inspire, or even to entertain. The second thing is, what do you actually want to communicate and how? We commonly see customers communicate and structure their findings in a variety of different ways. Some organizations use insights strictly for creating atomic nuggets. Others use insights for recapping their projects and developing reports. Some also aren't so selective in how they define these by using a mix of both across their organization. And if you're like me, I kind of use it as a space to communicate what we are hearing in success. But ultimately, they can be as long or as short as you want for your use case, just as long as it has enough content to communicate what you need it to, like what I'm communicating now in this presentation, in this insight. The last thing is, who is it actually for? So who is your audience? What are your stakeholders interested in learning? Are there any challenges they are looking to solve? How do they like to engage and learn with new things? So people absorb information in a variety of ways. Just like how there's no one gift for every person that you know, there's no right way of learning. Learners can be more visual, auditory, or tactile. So make your insights to suit all those needs. The last thing is, where are they? Think about the communication channels and tools that you're already engaging within that you can easily just slide into to share your insights. So let's start with packaging our first insight. Just like any present, there are a few bits and pieces you will need first. You'll need the gift itself. You'll need some sticky tape, some ribbon, wrapping paper, anything that you need to put the gift together. From your Dovetail workspace, this could include your created highlights, your tags, notes, files from across a range of different projects. But today we'll just start simple on the single project we have here. So if I just navigate to our noteboard, you'll see here that we are part of a project which is called our first user onboarding project. And this project is where our research duo here at Dovetail have been conducting some generative work on how first-time users of Dovetail are getting started on the platform. We want to surface any findings from our raw data that will inform our product managers of the key challenges and opportunities that we have in front of us. This project has consisted of a few different methods, but mainly recorded and unrecorded interview notes, as well as our recorded unmoderated usability tests. After a few rounds of analyzing this data, we have started to affinity map our findings. So as you can see here, these indicate that we have made some highlights and tags, added these to our notes, and our highlights are now in our Canvas view. Here we've started noticing a bit of a trend around the product's navigation. So if we zoom in here, you can see a bunch of highlights that we have tagged with navigation, and there's a bit of a trend indicating that first-time users are finding it confusing. So we think this may be useful for our product managers. So let's inform our product managers of this single atomic nugget that we've surfaced. And one way that you can do this is by selecting all your highlights, adding to an insight, so we'll create a new one. Open up our insight, get rid of that. And voila, here's our insight. But the only problem is that it is not very exciting. It's quite unstructured. There's not very easy to follow. If I'm a first-time user, what am I supposed to be looking at? We also know that our product managers are extremely time poor. They love to learn about new opportunities and love to learn and compare new ones with other ones as well. So let's make this insight a bit more readable and accessible by using what we have available to us, which are our layouts, highlights and highlight reels, images, and search blocks. So I'll jump over to a bit of a new and improved version of the same insight. And as you can see here, it's a little bit different. We have a cover photo. Our title is a bit longer to explain a bit more about the finding. We've got some comments as well as some other visual elements here. Within the insight, we want to display and make sure what we have in front of us is the best thing that we can produce. So we've added and created a highlight reel in our highlight view and added this up front in the insight itself. Highlight reels can be created automatically under specific tags. So if you open up your project's tags, we'll go to navigation. You'll see here that the videos that we have created highlights from have been put together into one succinct video. If we wanted to make a highlight reel from, let's say, different highlights from different tags, put them together, or you wanted to be a little bit more selective in creating your highlight reel, you can actually jump into your highlights. So this is one of our highlight views here, and select individual highlights from this view and download a different highlight reel here. We'll jump back into our insight. And we'll see also with this highlight reel, there is a 2-column layout. So this 2-column layout is a little bit more visually appealing than just having the text straight up the top, because you want people to actually see your video or highlight content first. To add a column and layout to your page, it's up here in the editor. If we scroll down a bit further, we've also got a 3-column layout available to us, which you can see in this option here. You can edit here. And we've embedded some of our individual highlights across this view. And essentially with this, we have also selected to change the view of the highlight itself to just video only, maybe make it a little bit more intriguing for our PMs to click on, and just curated the view a bit more so that we have our PMs not lost in a whole bunch of highlights that they may or may not know anything about. The next thing is this section here is our images. So we know many of our PMs may want to weigh up and compare certain pain points that have been surfaced in our project. So having visibility into how this one tag or issue compares to others is super important for them to prioritize work. So we've made this a little bit easier for them to visualize in terms of quantifying this data as well. And this chart here has actually come from our project. So if we navigate out to our charts, you'll see here that this chart is the same chart that we have in our insight. So we have also filtered by the tag group pain points, and the number here defines how many highlights have been created with that one tag. So you can see here that it's on par with our messaging as well. The last thing is that if our PMs do actually want to view all of the content under that specific tag or that specific theme, you'll see here that we can provide them with that view if they would like to. So this option here is called a search block, and search blocks are essentially a live feed that can be configured to show any content within your workspace. So in this case, we've added the search block from the editor tool here, configured it to display only highlights, and to display only highlights with the tag navigation as well. These are a really good option as well if you are looking to have people, if your project is ongoing, you could also connect this live feed with other projects that may be sharing the same navigation tag as well. Great. So now that we've packaged our gift, it's actually time to share it. And in Dovetail, there are a few different routes that you can take to deliver this. And these include commenting, sharing the link, inviting viewers into your workspace, and enabling public access to your insight. So in line with our initial framework, we'll think about who and where our audience are. So for our product managers here at Dovetail, I know that they have access to the workspace. So we'll pull them into the insight and mention them in a comment to start the conversation. So as we can see here, I've dropped a comment here to Pat, and this will send Pat a notification in their Dovetail account. As we also have Dovetail's Slack integration connected and set up internally, our PM Pat will also receive this notification in their Slack channel as well. So if they're not regularly in Dovetail, they'll be able to get a notification in a channel that they are in regularly. The second way that we can share this insight is by copying the insight's URL and pasting this into existing tools where our PMs are. So this one's it's quite simple, but the really great thing is that for tools such as Slack, Notion, Confluence, or Jira, a rich preview of the insight will be displayed. So you'll see here the URL that you can copy, and once you drop this URL into one of those tools, the first few lines of the insight will actually show as well. So it's really important that the title is catchy, we've got an intriguing photo or related photo, and the first few lines of your insight itself is attention grabbing. The third option is that if our PMs don't have access to the workspace, but you would like to give them access, we can invite them into the workspace in the user settings. So we'll jump into the user settings. And here you'll be able to see the option to invite users. For teams that are on plans, team and above, you can actually invite people into your workspace as viewers. So anyone invited into the workspace as a viewer can view, comment, and share content they have appropriate access to. It's a read-only view of the workspace. Viewers are unlimited as well on these plans, as they can't edit any content. They don't contribute to the project work. So you can invite as many viewers as you need. Now onto our last option, which is enabling public access for our insights. So we commonly hear from our customers that tool fatigue is a cruel reality. And to share an insight with our PMs who may not be too inclined to add a new tool to their tool stack, we can enable public access to our published insights from this project and share this link out. So public access for all insights means that whenever you have published an insight in your project, so not in drafts, it will show in a public view. So we'll see what this looks like. Jump into incognito. And here you go. So this is the public view of an insight. As you can see, we've got the same imagery, we've got the same heading. You can actually see comments that have been left on the insight. We've got our insight fields up here as well to help people kind of mentally categorize what this actually is, and our videos. People can click into your individual highlights. So these have come directly from our project. There you go, you can hear a little bit. But if they do try to click into this reference, they'll be stopped. So they can't actually access the workspace. It's also a really good option for people that want to ensure that the messiness of the project is kept separate to what the nice, neat finding appears as well for stakeholders. A quick way to share out these public insights as well is a good option that you can consider is to set up a Zap with our Zapier integration. And there's an option where you can set up a trigger for any new published insight to be linked out whichever channel or tool that you are using for your stakeholders to access easily as well. The only downside to a public insight like this is obviously that they can't comment on the data. So that kind of experience that people can do within the workspace where they can highlight certain text, add a comment to it, add the comments in the comment section, they won't be able to do that in a public insight. Cool, so I'll navigate out of there. Now, the last step in our gift giving process is figuring out whether or not we've actually hit the mark with our present. One thing that we know about our customers is that they always want to understand the impact of their work. And while it won't always be clear, there are a few things we've designed in Dovetail that you can leverage to reduce the struggle involved with figuring this out. And these two things are comments and metrics. So as I mentioned earlier, insights can be used for anything from an atomic nugget to a research report. In our same project here, we've fast forwarded in time and have conducted a few rounds of creating atomic nuggets. And what we want to do now is recap these and share with our wider organization just some of the key learnings that may be relevant for those across the board at our organization. For research recaps like this one, we have leveraged some of our richer insight editor tools like layouts, heading levels, tables, cards, dividers for formatting, where you probably wouldn't do the same thing for a nugget like our navigation finding. And for measuring the impact of this particular insight, we could consider first our metrics. So metrics are located at the top of your insight, and you'll be able to see here that we have a view count. Within this view count, we also have how many times a person has viewed the report. So Brian's viewed it a lot of times. Thank you, Brian. We also have the ability to like, add these comments, and view more in-depth metrics here as well. This data includes like your reached audience, where users have discovered the insight. So this type of information may be beneficial for how you share out your insights for next time, the audience role, audience access, engagement ratio, and the type of embedded content that has been the most popular. As you may notice with this, it does take a lot of information from view count of those that do have access to the workspace as well. So if we put into action this type of information, we could find specific people in our viewed insight here, drop them a comment or reach out to them directly to start a conversation to get some feedback on either the research itself or how you have presented this to your audience. For other metrics, we can see that there is a good spread of the types of roles that we have that have viewed this type of report, but only 31 have scrolled down to the end of the page. And one way we may interpret this is that we may consider reducing the length of the report for next time, or we could improve and add an element of storytelling around the findings, where we have a bit of a clearly defined hook, meat, and payoff in this type of recap to keep people interested in our reports. This type of data will allow you to understand further what kind of traction and engagement your insight has had with your stakeholders outside of just the comment section. If we were to mention or try to figure out measure the insight for those that have viewed the insight that are outside of the workspace, we could also create and share a quick survey. So this survey here, linked in the comment section, is a really great place to put this. You can also share this survey in other tools, other communication channels, but it does still create that one space where people can leave their feedback if they don't have access to the workspace itself. If we open up the public view of this insight, we'll be able to see our survey here as well. So the really great thing about this is that people can obviously see it, they can click into it, and in this survey you can just ask questions like, what was your main goal for reading this insight? What was your main takeaway? How can we make this page better? And if you want to change one thing about this, what would it be? If you want to be extra clever, you could also set up a zap for whenever a response is received in this particular survey, a new note is created in a separate project in your workspace for you and your team to review and analyze later, so you can make improvements to your insights for next time. The feedback loop will always be a work in progress, so play around with your findings and any insights that you give to your teams to better understand and compare what works well and what doesn't. So hopefully this has inspired you all to start thinking about how you can make the most of packaging, sharing, and measuring your gifts of knowledge. And if you don't take anything away from this session, my one ask is that you all jump into your workspaces and create one insight. The best thing that you can do is to just start creating and sharing these outputs to drive a conversation with your stakeholders. By catering and iterating on your audience's needs, you will better help everyone make decisions based off your insights. So thank you again for joining us for this session. And as a reminder, we have some resources and we'll be sharing out a recording as well of this session. Now I'll invite Sara to the stage as it's time for some Q&A.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Emily. That webinar itself was quite a gift. We're going to go ahead and start some Q&A. So go ahead and drop any questions that you still have in the chat. Dan and I have been marking questions as we go. So I'm going to go ahead and just start from the top. Emily, there's a couple specific questions about what you showed, and then we'll go into the more general applied use case questions. So starting from the top, we had questions about how you inserted your chart into your insight. What did you do?
Okay, so maybe I'll just jump into this. Oh, no. I've got my chart here. You can export an image of this. So if I downloaded this, opened up an insight, maybe I'll just chuck it in this one. You can drop and drag it in here like this. You can also resize images like this to kind of fit in with how big it is. I am a bit of a stickler for big images being too big. So I try to reduce as much as possible. People can also click into the image further if they want to have a bigger view of it as well. You can also add an image up here just by importing how you would any other kind of file into your workspace.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily. Another question was actually on this screen here, round 1 and round 2 nuggets. Carolyn was just interested in what those headings are.
Yes. So I didn't touch on this today because it gets a little bit more complicated and could be a whole webinar in itself. Basically, this here that we have is our insight. Oh, Sara, I can hear some speaker from you. I can hear myself. Anyway, thank you. So in here, basically what we have is our insight fields. So with insights, you can actually categorize and organize these in your projects using these options up here. So these fields are really handy for if you are creating those different rounds of insights and want to categorize different types of data as well. So here we've got our round 1 nuggets, round 2 nuggets, and our final reports, as you can see on this view here. Insight views can be organized and grouped by your fields. So for this particular view, our finding type, we've grouped it by the field type here.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily. Definitely the functionality of insight fields is something that we could do a whole other webinar on, but nice to know that you can organize your notes, but with structured data on the note fields, but you can also do that on the insight level. So another insight field that we see is really popular is actioned, yes or no. So you could actually run searches to see which of the insights in your workspace have been actioned and which are still sort of in pending state. So that's great. Thanks so much for that.
Yeah. I've got a similar example as well. Sorry, Sara. Here as well, like grouped by importance, you may want to categorize in that way as well. So that's just another short example of how you can do that.
Awesome. Quick question. Can you grab that public insight link that you were showing earlier and drop it in the chat so that folks could actually see the experience of having a public insight link shared with them?
this one. It's a really good idea, Sarah. Great suggestion. Now how do I do that? Let's see. This one here. So hopefully that should work. If not, I can see it. I'm also logged in. Cool. It works. Yes. The only thing that you will notice, I can't remember if I touched on this or not, is the search block that you can see down the bottom here. Because the search block is taking from content throughout the workspace, you won't be able to see that live feed in the same way that you can in the workspace view. This is mainly for like your restricting the data that you actually want people to see. If you do in the future want us to work out a way to kind of show this in a public view, you can let us know. But at the moment, it just hasn't been done. That's a way to say it.
Amazing. Another lower level question that we can answer before we get into some use cases. Can you show us present mode? There was a question from one of the folks in the chat about how the look of the insight actually might change, and loving the way that this is currently structured, but wondering what the present mode would actually look like.
So present mode is here. So this is present mode when we are logged into the workspace. Present mode when we are not logged into the workspace is the public view link that we've shared out as well. So here you'll be able to see a lot of the same. It's quite similar to the public view that we have all the content here. You can also, with this, even though this is just one individual insight, you'll be able to see all of our insights from this one project. So this is all of our published insights from this project on this page here as well. So it's quite similar to the public access view.
Awesome. Let's get into some of the meaty, more applied questions. One of my favorites. Now that we've deprecated stories and insights have become a more flexible container and inherited some of the functionality from stories, how should we think about embedding an insight within an insight? So we have a question from Jane. If you have multiple insights within a project and want a fuller research report, how might you set that up? Jane was saying that she feels like sending individual links to insights hasn't been very successful and that they end up defaulting to a Google slide deck. So if you could show us how to actually think about embedding insights within a larger or broader insight, I think that would be helpful for people to see the more like roll up or report view that you can create with an insight as well.
Yeah, so with our report that we kind of touched on before, we have a few of these insights from our project that have been embedded inside of this. You'll be able to see, if I just scroll, these ones here are our insights. You can obviously set up this report and structure it in any way that makes sense for you. But you can see here that if people, maybe I'll go into this view. I'll jump into this one as well. If we go into present mode in here, people will be able to click into the insights as well. So this is our present mode. This is our insight. And if this, it doesn't have anything in there, but if this insight is publicly shared as well, which it should be when you do enable public access to your published insights, people will be able to click into this content when in the workspace. So if people do want to look further into those individual nuggets that you've put into a roundup, that they can do so within the workspace. In the public view, if we did the same thing, you'll be able to see that people actually can't at this time access those insights. So there you would just need to make sure to tell people to jump into the public view here in the present mode and open up all the nuggets here if it loads. Cool.
Awesome, Emily.
So I think, yeah. You go. That's fine.
Go ahead. I don't want to talk over you. One thing to call out, we had another question about comparing insights across projects and feeling like insights are siloed within projects. Can you clarify how you might be able to view insights from multiple projects?
Yes. Let me see if I can grab one. So if we were to create a new insight in this project, you can get content and embed content from any other project across your workspace that you have access to. So maybe I'll find some references, maybe another note, or maybe I'll filter by a different project or all projects. Let's pick Billy. So this, as you can see here, is a note that has actually come from a different project. So this is called Diary Study Analysis. And if we jump into this particular note, we're in a different project. So that's kind of a simple way that you can embed content from other projects as well. So if you do have one insight that you think, oh, this is interesting, I've kind of heard this before from another project, you can search in the reference picker up here, filter by the content that you wish to see, and then drop and drag them in there too. You could also use search. So if you are up in search here and you maybe will try and find a term, well, I don't even know what there is, B2B. We can see here that this insight is from a different project as well. And we can actually add this insight to our insight in our project from search as well.
Awesome. I think we're going to call it there. I know there's a ton of additional context around insights and sharing and creating that we can go into. I hope this was a good overview of really creating an engaging insight and sharing that out. Keen to always hear feedback from the group about what else you would want us to cover in future webinars. We come up with these topics based on the questions that we get from all of you. So really keen to hear what else you'd want to see, what else you want to dig into. I think that Insights Hub that you brought up, Jared, is something that we can definitely talk about. We've been talking a lot about that internally in terms of best practices. So really, really happy to do something like that in the future. But Emily, you want to close us out? Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I really appreciate your attendance and your engagement in the chat as well. I'm just going to, afterwards, I'm going to flick through everything and look at all your questions as well for some ideas for the next webinar. I'd love to hear from you guys. I mean, it makes my job a lot easier trying to pick a topic when you guys are suggesting one. So yes, thank you for joining us. We have the recording and some resources to share out afterwards. You'll get an email from me. I will be building that one out today and get making your insights. Thanks for joining.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Thanks so much.